Hey guys, good morning. I was not ready. I'm sorry. I was on court vibes watching OJ and totally not paying attention to the time like I was supposed to. So professional. I hope everybody had a good evening. I did. What did I do? I did what I always do. I played my video game. I finished it. Finally, I got 100% on Hogwarts Legacy. I found I didn't find everything in the game because you can get 100% without finding everything. What part are we on? We are on part 90. Renteria or Renteria, depending on who's saying the name. Hey, Nancy. Yes, we're on part 38 of my part. We're on part 90 of Court TV's part 38. Can you believe it, guys? We've been doing this for over a month. I pulled this dress out of the back of my closet because I haven't been able to wear it. It's too big. It's hot too. I might have to go change because it's tulle. If it was underneath, the underneath part is just like a plain old like t-shirt material. I wonder if I could just. The tulle part's the pretty part though. I wonder if I could just cut the tulle off. The tulle's hot. Thank you guys. I'm stuck though. I have not lost weight since November. But my doctor was like, "You've maintained though. That's a little, that's a little win." Yeah, I've maintained. I don't know why I'm stuck. So anyways, I got 100% on my game. I'm so proud of myself cuz I usually when I was younger and I played video games, I finished them every time. And my cousin was like, "Debbie, it's not a book. You don't have to finish it." And I'm like, "Yes, you do. You do. You have to finish it." Now I'm lucky if I finish a game, but I finished it. I got 100%. I was so happy. Yes, my eyes are watering again. Both of them this morning. Last night I went to sleep. I don't know. I like my glasses because my eyes were too far apart. um, Last night I went to sleep, or tried. Was I lay down to go to sleep? I don't know what happened. Immediate allergies, like not allergies, but like allergic. Allergies is allergic. I meant sinuses. At first, I thought it was my sinuses draining. And I'm like, why are my sinuses draining at night? And then it was like allergies. I'm like, no, I'm allergic to something. Because my eyes started itching. I'm like, what am I allergic to? Yeah, I'm allergic to my dogs, but I don't get like the full blown nose, eyes thing with the dogs anymore. I just get the hives like I showed you guys yesterday. I sleep with the dogs every night. So I'm like, what is happening? So I use CPAP at night because I have sleep apnea. I'll stop breathing. So I'm like, my nose is running inside my little mask that goes over my nose. And I'm like, what is happening? I don't know what. So that might be why my eyes are watering this morning so bad. Because last night my nose just kept running and kept running. And I kept getting up to the bathroom to go get toilet paper to wipe my nose and blow my nose. And finally, I just gave up. I'm like, I'm just going to get a roll of toilet paper and put it by the bed. So I'm fine. I know how you guys worry about me. I'm fine. I'm fine. But if my eyes look weird, that's why. I did not see the Lori Vallow trial. I've been wanting to watch Lawyer You Know's recaps. Yes, I'm crying because I'm so happy to see you guys. I love you guys. This has been so much fun to be able to get up in the morning and do this with you guys. I was thinking about this last night, how, because like I keep getting my rings hung in my earrings. To get up and be able to do this, and yes, I want my channel to grow, but this is like having a watch party with friends. To like sit here and be able to talk to you guys and tell my opinion and get your guys' opinion, because on bigger channels things get lost, like I'll say something to somebody and they won't see it. And then if you're on your phone or your iPad, you can't tag people and things get missed, and it's just, and then chat flies by too fast and you don't see stuff. And yeah, I do want my channel to grow, but this is nice when it's just, between like 6 and 12 people and you can catch what everybody's saying. And, it's like having a watch party with a small group of friends, and that's nice. So, oh, he was seeing other people? I mean, I know they were separated, but I didn't realize that he was seeing other people. I know that Peter did a video about her cross-examination of somebody. I don't like her. I mean, I don't like any of these people that kill people, but her especially. Someone that says that their kids are zombies and then they kill them and bury them in their backyard and then use religion as an excuse. I have no use for anybody like that. I really don't. Um it it irks me when someone, like, I heard her statement at sentencing, and to get up and say what she said, that turns my stomach, and I want no part of that. So that's why I'm not watching that trial. But if it's funny, I might watch that cross. Did she made an opening statement too, right? I mean, of course she had to have. I might watch the opening statement just to see what she had to say. And I can't imagine, like, I watched Lawyer talking about, I watched his live from yesterday, I watched last night, about him talking about jury problems with the cases, with her and Karen Reed's case being so well known, and about the strikes that the lawyers have and stuff, and how she doesn't know how to pick a jury and knowing about strikes and that kind of a thing. And that was pretty interesting. And somebody in the chat was like, well, it's confusing when you talk about two cases at the same time. No, it's not. If you're paying attention, it shouldn't be confusing. But, he was just pointing out that, she didn't know how to do strikes and the kind of questions to ask. And like, there was somebody that had a hardship after they got picked because the guy had child support and alimony that he wasn't going to be able to make if he was going to be in this trial. And then there was like some type of a I forgot what he called it. It was like $300 that the guy could get some kind of a fund or something that was set up for jurors that had hardships. Oh, I think I did see that on a thumbnail this morning. It said something about witness snaps back at Lori Vallow. Don't flatter yourself. She was jealous. She got rid of the man. Oh my God. Okay, well, I guess we need to get started because we'll be late. Well, we're always late for the other trial. I guess it doesn't matter. Oh, Jennifer, you're watching that. You're watching the Burned and Battered trial, though, on Recovery Addicts channel. What do you think about the defense attorney? We hate him. Not the man personally, but you know what? You know what I mean. I want to crawl through this computer screen and slap him. And we were talking about the judge yesterday. She needs to learn how to control her courtroom. She really, really, really does. Because her rulings are fantastic. I've not had one issue with any of her rulings at all. But she doesn't control her courtroom. He won't wait for a ruling. When one of the prosecutors objects, he doesn't wait for a ruling. He immediately starts to argue it. And if he would just stand there and wait for her ruling, because if she overrules it, he doesn't need to argue. But he immediately starts to argue and takes an attitude against the prosecution. It drives me nuts. Oh, I wonder about his wife, because he has a wedding ring on. I wonder what kind of wife he has, because it just seems like she's got to be one of those mousy little people that get pushed around. I have not heard the grunting. Judy said, was it Judy yesterday that said the same thing about the grunting? I've not heard it. I don't know why I'm missing it. I'm going to have to listen for it today. See, I met Travis inadvertently because of a dating app. When I met Travis, it was the first time I ever used a dating app, and some guy had liked me. Oh, okay, I'll listen for it today. Hey, Ardo. I don't remember which dating app it was, but a guy had liked me, whatever, click the box, or I don't know what it was. And then the next day, I had gone to contact him or whatever it was, and he wasn't on it anymore. And I was like, well, figures. And I was telling my friend at work about it, and she said, I have the perfect guy for you. And it was Travis's ex-sister-in-law. So that's how I met Travis. So I inadvertently met my husband through a dating app, but it wasn't on the app. So that's my cute meat story. I forgot to share my screen again. Why do I always forget to do that?
And alternates and witness or present as heretofore. You may resume. Thank you. If we could have another photograph that purports to.
Don't start.
Be at the bathroom area at 1700 Grandview Avenue.
with evidence marked next in order. Look at this particular photograph that's now on the screen. Do you recognize the general area that this photograph picks?
Yes.
Okay, and that's on now 1700 Grandview Avenue, the Spector residence, correct?
Correct.
This is part of the residence that you looked at for evidence in this particular. The item 13 would be on this toilet tank right here to the left of the photograph where I'm pointing. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And then the other items, there was a comb, some type of hairspray that was collected. Is that true?
Yes.
And then there was a burgundy towel, item number 12. Is that correct?
Yes.
And then there was this item 24, which was this glass that had that you ultimately did some DNA testing on. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And then the rag was in front of the toilet, but that's not depicted here in the photograph. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And that's essentially all the evidence that was in this downstairs bathroom. Is that true? True.
Those are the only items that were collected.
Okay. And now that's not the only thing you did in this bathroom as far as evidence. You looked all through the bathroom for evidence that you felt might be of evidentiary value, as you use that term. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay. Now, were there other things that you did at the scene, such as if you saw a spot on the rug or on something else, and did you swab it to see if it gave a positive KM, and if it did, you collected it?
In the scene in general?
In general, that's what you did.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I did on the second day before the luminol is there were some darker areas on the burgundy carpet, that you could see visually with your eye. So before the luminol examination, what I did with those areas, and there were a few of them, I'd say maybe 4 or 5 different areas on the foyer carpet directly in front of the victim. Then there was also a couple areas on a couple of the steps on the lower portion of the stairway that were darker than the rest of the carpet. So before I luminoled, I checked those areas with the KM test. And I think I indicated the areas I checked by putting a white X mark on those areas. Those areas were KM negative, so they weren't collected.
Okay, because basically if you got a KM negative, you don't expect to get any type of DNA from blood. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, now, Mr. Renteria, you also, because you've been a criminalist for a number of years, you looked for, the part of the luminol was to look for like somebody cleaning up blood. Like let's say if somebody if there was blood in the sink, but it was all wiped down, you couldn't visually see it, you could spray it with luminol and it would fluoresce, because that's essentially what luminol does, is to try to pick up that blood that's been wiped down or smeared, so it's not visible to the naked eye.
Yes.
Okay, and so did you do that? This bathroom area?
Sorry, with the exception of the bloody rag, that gave a strong luminol positive blood on it.
Okay. You even sometimes do some chemical testing of faucets and drains that are within a particular location if you suspect that there's been some type of cleanup activity after an alleged crime or incident. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay. And on this particular sink, you did that. Is that true?
Yes.
You actually take a swab and you swab the inside of this drain and you swab inside of it, and then you process that swab and do chemical testing on that swab to see if there's any traces of blood. Isn't that true?
Yes, the top surface of the sink was sprayed with luminol. Some areas did give me a positive reaction, very weak, but those areas were tested after with the KM reagent. Those were negative. I also tested about 1 inch down in the drain of the sink, and that tested KM negative.
Okay, and that's this drain here. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and that's something that criminalists do when they go to a scene. If they suspect somebody the blood was washed down a drain, they'll test the drain itself. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
And did you go upstairs and test the drains there, or did Mr. Kyle do that? Who would have been responsible for that?
Mr. Kyle was responsible for observing the other bathroom or bathrooms upstairs.
And had there been a KM positive, that would have been reported to you, and you would have collected those areas. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay, so by not reporting it to you, you presume that to the extent he did it, it was negative. Is that correct?
Yes.
And that's what he reported to you, in fact. Isn't that true?
He did not report any positive areas.
Okay. Now, the one thing that you did do luminol on upstairs was the area where the coat was found, that room. Is that true?
Yes.
You did, you sprayed the area where the coat was. Is that correct?
Correct. The
And
floor.
And
yes.
you didn't get anything positive from the floor. Is that true?
Yes.
And then you also, that there's a chair there that's in that room where that coat was, like a Baca lounger type chair. You sprayed that. Is that correct?
I don't recall if I actually sprayed the chair. I recall spraying the floor immediately below where the jacket was recovered.
And did you test some areas with your KM testing, your Kasselmeyer testing?
I don't recall doing that.
Okay. Was that room basically, except for the finding of the jacket, was there any other evidence collected from that room that you're aware of?
As far as blood evidence that I collected, no.
Okay. And how about Mr. Kyle? Did he point out anything to you other than the jacket?
No.
He's the one that actually found the jacket, isn't that correct?
That's correct.
Now, were you aware as to how that jacket actually got to the location where Mr. Kyle pointed it out to you? Or do you know who put it there?
You mean
Or
before?
you observed it at that location, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and do you know how the jacket was put there? In other words, who put it on the floor?
I have no idea.
Do you know who last?
Well, the answer was, I don't know.
That's right. I don't know, sir.
The answer will stand.
Right. Were you aware of whether or not, when Mr. Spector was arrested on that day that you went there, that he asked a police officer to get?
This calls for hearsay. It calls for
Sustained.
speculation.
Sustain.
Okay. Getting back to the bathroom, this is the downstairs bathroom. You tested the burgundy towel that's depicted here, and you looked for visually anything that you thought even resembled a blood stain. Is that correct?
Correct. That exam was done at the laboratory, not at the scene, but I
Okay.
did not find any blood on the burgundy towel.
Okay. Now, if we could get back to the eyelashes, and we'll finish up with that. If we could have the chart, which was quad O. This particular profile.
Not quad, quintuple.
Quino, excuse me, I apologize.
That's all right.
There's some results that you put NT, and there's 4 of them here at these locations that are on the right hand of the chart. Does NT mean not tested?
Yes,
Okay, so you only tested the eyelashes under one of your systems, is that true?
that's correct, because there wasn't enough DNA to split it up in order to be able to get results in both systems. I used almost all of it for the one system.
Okay, and was there approximately 1.5 nanograms in the sample that you quantified?
Yeah, approximately, yes.
Okay. I now want to move to another test that you did on another portion of evidence, or another piece of evidence, and have this that purports to be a picture of a holster. And I don't have this on the computer, but I'm going to show it on the overhead and ask you some questions about that. May I have this marked next in order? Quinn
Q.
Q. Okay. With reference to your work in this particular case, did you ever do any forensic analytical work on a holster that purportedly was collected from a drawer in the residence, and the drawer being in a bureau in the foyer area of the home?
Referring to my notes, I'm sorry, sir, do you know what J number that was receipted into the laboratory? It's not depicted in the
You guys know what comes after Quinn, right?
picture. My notes indicate there were 2 different holsters.
Okay, if we could, hold on.
Or the item number that it was collected under.
Item number 2.
Okay, that'd be helpful.
That's good?
Yes, on August 6th, 2003, in the presence of Dr. Harold, I did examine item number 2 for the presence of blood. I did a couple KM tests on different areas, and that was negative. I took a swabbing of the outside of the holster, just in general, but I didn't do any analysis on that. I just took a swabbing and kept it and froze it.
Okay, basically you were looking for traces of blood on this item and it all came back negative and you didn't take it any further. Is that true?
That's true.
Okay, and even though some detectives suspected blood on it, once you...
I haven't, it sounds like it's going to, if you get into what anybody else said or reported, it's going to be hearsay.
Let me ask you a hypothetical question. If somebody looks at an object and they see what they suspect as blood, it's the KM test that really is more definitive than the visual observation. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
Quinn, next in order. R. Now, I want to get back to testing on. It's correct, Mr. Renteria, that you actually did some testing of a portion of the gun inside the barrel. Is that correct?
Yes.
And I'm showing you Quinn R. And this has the item number J309759. This is a close-up photograph of the barrel of the gun that you did some DNA testing from. You be swabbing certain areas. Is that correct?
Yes.
And one of the areas of the gun that you did was the area, which is the top of the gun, if I'm looking at it correctly. Is that true?
That's correct.
Okay, and then you did the outside of the barrel, in other words, areas out.
Well, I was going to check. Hey, Carla. I was going to check, but every time I check, StreamYard glitches. He is doing, I think he did the direct, so he should be doing the redirect, AJ, but I don't think we're going to get to it today. I think this is still cross. Because this detective or crime scene analyst or whatever he is has like 9. I don't remember how many parts, but a lot of parts.
Out on the outside edge of the barrel, is that true?
Yes.
And then you did further back on the gun, but then you also did inside the barrel, right in here, is that true?
That's right. The sampling that I did was about a 1 centimeter from the very end of the barrel back, and then the inside of the barrel as a second sample.
Okay, and before you did your DNA testing, you did a Kastle-Meyer presumptive blood test on that sample, is that correct?
That's correct. After I took the sample that I would eventually go and attempt DNA typing, I immediately went back to the evidence, swabbed it with another swab, and then did a KM test on that swab.
Okay.
So it was after the collection.
Okay, but it was of the same area. In other words, the idea was to see whether or not you got a positive or negative on the KM, correct?
Correct.
Okay, next in order, Your Honor.
Yes.
Quinn S.
Dang it.
Mr. Interior, this particular chart, have you taken a look at it? On your copies? We've got another chart that we marked Quinn S. Before we put it on the board. Did you take a look at it to determine whether or not the genetic markers correctly comport to your data that you generated in your DNA testing result?
Yes.
Okay, and does it, with the exception of Lana Clarkson's reference sample, should be 100 versus 101?
Correct.
Okay, if we could have Quinn S. put up on the board. Mr. Venturi, with reference to the gun, Quinn S, that's on the screen now, you recognize this as being the weapon that you did the sampling from, the Colt 38 caliber stub nose 2-inch revolver?
Yes,
And inside the barrel, where I'm pointing now, is where you did the sampling that comports to this result, and you labeled this sample 1L gun inner barrel.
correct.
Okay, and were you able to get a genetic profile of the DNA that was recovered from this sample?
Yes,
And did all of the DNA come back to one contributor?
yes, it did.
And did all of the DNA come back to one contributor who matched the profile of Lana Clarkson?
That's correct, yes.
And were there any foreign genetic markers associated with this sample from any other person other than Lana Clarkson?
No,
And with reference to your Kasselmeyer test, your presumptive test for blood, was that negative for this inner barrel sample?
yes, it was.
I want to show you.
Greasy?
Or 180. You were shown some photographs of, another photograph of the chair, item 40, be marked as exhibit next in order.
Quintuple T.
Q quintuple T. Mr. Venturi, I'm going to ask you to look at this particular photograph as soon as it gets on the screen. And I believe that we looked at another one that was marked that was similar to this. This is item 40, at least a portion of it. And the top of it, it actually goes, the top of the chair is actually in this direction. Is that true?
That'd be correct.
Okay, so this is sort of a skewed view of it from, from a different angle. But one of these samples you actually did some testing on. Is that correct?
Yes,
And the actual sample that you collected was this, what appears to be a larger stain right here that I'm pointing to. Is that true?
yes.
Okay. And was that the only stain that was on this piece of wood that was part of this chair? Were there other stains that look like blood?
Is that typing?
Like at the top here, you see little specks here, some little, very little, some a little bigger. And this one that you collected was even larger. Is that true?
Yes,
In fact, there's numerous specks on this one little area. Is that true?
yes,
Okay. And they all, at least visually, they all look like blood. Is that correct?
that's correct.
Okay. And so it would be redundant to test every one, essentially. In other words, you just wanted to answer a question whether or not this was Lana Clarkson's blood or not. Is that true?
Yes,
Okay. And so picking one out of this group of them would answer that question, essentially. Is that true?
yes.
Do you know, if you look at all of these areas on this just one little portion, how many spots of blood were there?
I did not count them.
Okay. When you looked at Miss Clarkson's slip, and I believe if I could ask to have this exhibit put up next in order, 4196, and it would be Quinn.
U.
This is a picture, I believe you've been shown this before, and this shows a number of stains on this particular garment, which purports to be the slip that Miss Clarkson was wearing at the time of her death. Do you recognize it as being that?
Yes,
Okay, and for example, there's some bigger stains, some smaller stains, and my question is that, do these arrows represent all of the stains that are on this garment?
you would have to ask Dr. Harold that question.
Okay, the ones that you were interested in were the ones that you labeled green, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and you understood Dr. Harold to say that these ones that are labeled red are what she thought was blood. Is that true?
Well, it's what her opinion is blood, not thought that was.
Okay, in other words, in
opinion
her view,
yeah, where
or her
those red
opinion.
arrows are indicate where she observed microscopically blood.
Okay, I'm going to show you the actual photograph. Are there other things? Did you look at the garment yourself?
Only to sample it for the 3 stains that I collected.
Okay, so do you know whether or not there were other stains that look like blood that are not labeled here?
I don't know.
Okay. Now, did you test a tequila bottle, Mr. Renteria?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and was that tequila bottle found in the kind of a living room area along with some glasses and things of that nature?
Yes.
Okay, and were you able to get any type of a result off the tequila bottle as far as a DNA result?
I refer to my report.
Okay.
That was identified as item number 16. The sample I took from the mouth of the bottle of item 16, the bottle, did give human DNA. However, there was an insufficient amount to move on for DNA typing.
Okay, and so basically no reportable result as far as whose DNA it might be, is that?
That's
correct. Now, when you, before we talk about amounts of, and we handle the gun, that you got a Y.
I remember talking about that. Yes.
And we were talking about whether or not that result, in one system you tested, you didn't get a Y marker that you could report, correct?
Correct.
And then in the other one you did. And the question was, how far above your minimum level was that? You were going to check on that?
That's right.
Okay.
Our guide level for reportable results is 75 RFUs, which we spoke about earlier. And the Y for that particular sample in Profiler Plus reached that level, exactly 75. And that's why it was reported.
Okay, and if it was only 74, you would have not reported it, correct?
Correct.
And basically the X that was there, did it have 3,881 RFUs?
Yes.
So there was a huge disparity between the X, or the female DNA, and the is there any way to tell the jury how long or how that Y actually got into the sample?
No, it was on the piece of evidence. I can't say when it got there or how it got there.
How long it was there?
That's right. I can't.
Relation may have contributed. Is that correct?
That's right. I cannot.
Can you exclude yourself as being, through inadvertent contamination, having contributed that during the processing of the sample?
Yes.
Okay, and how can you do that?
In that particular sample set, all the controls, all 4 that we spoke about previously, gave expected results. And if we contaminated a particular item, I would have expected to see more contamination probably in other tubes. So all 4 gave the correct results. So in my opinion, that Y did not come from my DNA.
Now, in your other contamination event, you only contaminated 1 sample.
Yes.
Okay, so how do you know you didn't contaminate just one sample in this other run that you did? In other words, what proves that?
Well, I can't prove it absolutely, but that is my opinion based on evaluating the other controls in the sample set that did not come from me.
Okay. Next in order, Your Honor, a photograph of a chair, which is 4.194.
V.
Quinn V. Recognize what's depicted here, Mr. Renteria?
Yes.
And this is a picture of the chair, which was Los Angeles Sheriff's Department item 40, correct?
Correct.
And this was physically taken from the death scene to the Sheriff's Department Crime Laboratory where you work, correct?
Yes.
And this was one of the photographs, one of the many photographs of the chair that was taken. Is that
The picture, an example of how tall it was.
okay? And was there measurements taken of the chair? Let's say from the ground to the where a person would sit.
Again,
StreamYard, what are you doing?
The relative height of the chair is about 3 feet. Is that about right? Standard yardstick, 3 feet?
well, if that is a yardstick,
Okay.
I know you can get sticks that are, taller than 3 feet. I can't really see it from here.
Yeah, we'll wait for Dr. Carroll to.
Okay.
She's the one that was looking at the chair and measuring it and so forth. Is that true?
That's my understanding, yes.
Okay. Now, you were at the scene and you actually saw the decedent when she was in the chair. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
Now, as a criminalist, when you go to a scene,
At theme parks too, because you walk off all the calories.
you look at everything there. In fact, you spent many, many hours at that scene. Is that true the first day?
Did he just say you can get yardsticks that are longer than 3 feet? A yard is 3 feet. That's why it's called a yardstick.
Yes.
Okay. You looked all around the scene for anything that was of potential evidentiary significance. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
Okay. You were looking for tooth part. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. You also looked true.
That's true.
Now, did this chair, you see the 4 legs on the chair? It was on carpeting, basically, this kind of shag carpeting. Each of these legs was into the carpeting. Isn't that correct?
That's how I recall, yes.
Okay. And did you happen to note or look at the legs of the chair to see if there was any indentations other than where the chair was actually situated?
No, I don't recall looking for that or observing that.
Do you recall in your notes that you stated somewhere that you looked at the chair and where it was located and that it didn't appear to have been moved before it was collected?
I don't recall that in my notes.
Okay. Is that something that you would look for? In other words, if the chair was if there were indentations, but the chair was at a different location, is that something you might have looked at?
Not necessarily, no.
We could have photograph 3.037 marked next in order.
W.
Quinn W.
Yes.
see this exhibit, Quinn W. on the screen?
Yes,
And that's you in the picture, is that correct?
yes, it is.
And is this picture, was it taken on the day that you were doing your luminol testing? The chair is gone.
Yeah, I really can't say. The chair was gone, but I didn't leave immediately after the chair was put into the evidence van. So I don't know if that was the first day or the second day.
Okay. In any event, there's some X's that are here, and you can see it better in the actual photograph. Maybe I'll show that to you. You can see little, look like white X's on the floor right in front of you. They're not real clear on the overhead, but they're clear in the photograph. Does that suggest to you when this photograph went in?
I think I mentioned previously that before I luminoled, I checked some areas that were darker in color on the carpet. And if they were negative, I put an X there just to remind me I tested those already.
Okay.
So this would be the second night.
Okay, the second day you were here, and then on the stairway itself, you marked a bunch of X's. Is that true?
Yeah, I don't know how many, but there were 2 or 3 areas that I tested which were KM negative.
Okay, with your luminol testing, you sprayed with this garden hose type thing, all this luminol. You sprayed it all around this particular area?
Yeah, garden
Left
hose
field.
to me is, a 50-foot long hose that,
Okay.
shoots out water. The sprayers is one of those things you could get at Home Depot or Lowe's and pump up the pressure. Then you can adjust the nozzle so it's a heavy stream or a light mist. That's a garden sprayer.
Okay, and that's where you mix up what? Of several gallons of spraying. Did you spray more than once? Any of the areas? You can actually spray more than once, can't you?
You mean over and over again?
Yeah. Yeah, you can. If you think you see something, you can go back over it.
Yeah. If you spray originally and you think you saw some type of reaction, you can go back and then spray more of the chemical just to see if it would come up.
Okay, and so basically the luminescence, it glows for a period of time, depending upon how much reaction there is, and then the glow goes away, and then you have to spray it again to redo it, basically.
Correct.
Okay, and when you were looking at it on the shag carpeting, you were doing it while you were standing, is that true?
Yes.
Okay, you weren't on your hands and knees or anything?
No.
Okay, all right. And you sprayed the wood part of the stairs as well as the carpeting part of the stairs. Is that also true?
Yes.
I want to show you what's been previously marked as Exhibit GGGG. And ask you some questions about that. Four Gs. At least that's what it's marked as. You recognize this photograph, 4G?
Yes.
Okay, and are you this person within the photograph?
Yeah. Holding a clipboard, I think that is me.
Okay, wearing kind of a whitish shirt, talking to somebody it looks like from the coroner's office, is that correct?
Yeah, I believe that's Dan Anderson, who's a either assistant director or a supervisor at the coroner's office.
Okay, and from other testimony in the case, they got into the scene and started doing their work later on, like after Mr. Kyle got there. Is that your recollection?
Yes, that's my recollection.
Okay, and you had been there since 2:30, and they got there, let's say 7:30, somewhere around there?
Yes.
Okay, and you see in this area of the photograph, there appears to be some type of a marker. I'm not sure what number it is, but my question is, were there markers of evidence that had been located by the detectives and yourself prior to the coroner staff getting there?
Yes.
Okay, and the way it works when a scene is being investigated, a death scene or whatever, is that the detective who is assigned to the case, or detectives, whatever the case may be, will look around and spot things and point them out to yourself and Mr. Kyle as criminalists, and then you would document them further and eventually collect them. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's what usually happens.
Okay. So I want to show you another exhibit and ask that this be marked next in order. And basically, the marking of the items on the stairs, the tooth markers, that had already occurred by the time the coroner staff got there. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Next in order, which would be Quinn.
Quintuple X.
Okay. Quinn X, I'm going to show you it's 2.090. Okay, this particular item was some type of a statue on a pedestal, and it was designated as item number 7. Is that true?
That's what the photo depicts, yes. Item number 7. I'm not sure if it's depicting the pedestal or the actual statue that's a little askew up against that handrail.
Okay, was this determined eventually to be of anything of significance where it was collected and tested for any reason?
It was not collected by me or Mr. Kyle. I don't know if the
Late statute became skewed as it's photographed here in Quinn X.
Objection, that would call for speculation.
He asks him if he knows. If he knows, he can answer yes. If he doesn't know, and then if he gets yes, we'll worry about what it's based upon. Do you have any way of knowing?
I don't know.
All right.
Okay. But this was marked by somebody, and then whatever happened as far as whatever, it wasn't collected by you or Mr. Kyle. Is that true?
That's right. And again, Mr. Kyle and myself only collected items that would most likely go to the DNA section or let's say the possible tooth fragments. We didn't collect everything and bring it back ourselves. So I don't know anyone else at that crime scene if they collected that and brought it back to their unit.
Okay. If I could have Quinn H put back on, which is that photograph, and then we'll get back to this one in a moment. Now, this is a view of this same area of this statute, only from a little farther away. And this is Quinn H, 5 H's, HH, HHH. Is that correct?
Yeah. Do I have a copy of that?
I'll show you a copy.
Okay.
And my question is, do you know when this might have been taken?
No, I can't tell from this photo when it was taken.
Okay, I want to ask you some questions. I want to not focus so much on the pedestal and the statute, but on the stairs that are depicted here. There's a white object here that looks like, do you know whether that was collected, what its significance is, of anything?
I do not know.
Okay, and with reference to these steps that are shown here, did you do any Castlemeyer testing on any spots or areas of these 2 steps here that are in this particular photograph, Quinn H?
I did not.
Okay, now if we could get Quinn X back, and it's a closer up view of it. And that these 2 steps that I was talking about are also shown in Quinn X, and those are the same 2 steps that we're talking about. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay. Now, Mr. Renteria, when you were there the next day, was there an object that was on this first step, a little white object or a white discoloration of some type that you observed?
I don't recall.
Okay, and the picture of you standing there, which I'm looking for right now, that was a couple of exhibits back, where we determined the one that had the X's in it. Do you have that?
Yes, I do.
That I showed you? Can you give us the exhibit number, Quinn?
I think that's 5W.
Okay. In there, if you could look at the photograph, you see a little white discoloration here on this first step that's there. It's highlighted now. I'm not sure what that is, but do you see that?
Yeah, I see something white there.
Okay, something white, we'll call it that. Was that there the day before?
I don't recall.
Okay, was it, if it was something of significance, would you have taken note and looked at it if it meant anything to this case?
Yes.
Okay, so you didn't make any note of that, so what would be your take on what that might have been as far as its significance to the case?
Objection.
That does call for speculation, the way the question is phrased, Sustained.
Let me re-ask the question this way. Had that been something that you thought might have some evidentiary value that was not there when you first went to the crime scene, but you saw the second time you went to the scene, would you have done something as far as observing that, taking note of it, and collecting it if it need be?
That's a hard question. I don't recall, first of all, seeing it there on the second day.
Okay.
I don't know if I did or if I didn't.
Okay.
So I don't know what significance to put on that.
Next in order, which is a photograph at the scene of the chair.
Quintuple Y?
Why?
Yes.
1.266. You see the photograph here of what appears to be the decedent in the chair at the scene?
Yes.
Okay, and there's a ruler in the chair. Were you familiar with how this photograph was taken and who took it?
Does the photo you have show the writing on that? Looks like a yellow piece of paper.
You know, it looks like it's all washed out. I'll show you the photo itself. I can't really see anything there.
Well, there's something. I just can't tell what it is.
Yeah, I don't specifically recall this photo being taken. I can't see the writing on the yellow piece of paper. So I don't know if I suggested that photo be taken with the ruler in place.
Can you see that now we've enlarged that little area? Does that help you at all?
Oh, yes.
Okay,
Yeah, that's my writing.
that's right. Okay, your initials are basically right there.
Yes.
Okay, and 4-3, and that, you put the ruler there and you were measuring the chair.
I think I was measuring the distance of the chair leg from the bottom seat of that particular chair.
Okay, did you document that in your notes?
I don't recall if I did or not.
You remember documenting it being about 17 inches?
I don't recall.
Okay. Mr. Renteria, I wanted to go over just a few more items and finish up with you and ask you that were there any items that you did DNA testing on that were taken from a sexual assault kit that was collected by the coroner's office from Lana Clarkson?
Yes.
Okay, and a sexual assault kit is a group of collected samples that is done to document collection from a person's body, either a alleged sexual assault victim who's either living or dead. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And they routinely have standard type items that they collect. Isn't that true?
Yes.
Vaginal swab samples, oral swab samples, things of that nature. Isn't that true?
That's true.
Pubic hair combings, things of that nature.
Yes.
Okay, and conversely, they also have a male sexual assault kit that they can collect also. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay, now with reference to Lana Clarkson, were you ever given a group of samples from some type of a sexual assault kit to test as it related to this particular case?
Yes.
And basically, were the sexual assault samples collected by Jamie Lintemuth in the coroner's office prior to the autopsy that was done?
I don't recall who specifically collected it, but it would have been collected at the coroner's office.
Okay, and are there portions of that sexual assault kit that you can do DNA testing on? In other words, are there samples that are suitable for DNA testing?
Yes.
Okay, and in this particular case, for example, they sometimes, it was your understanding, based upon being at the scene, that Ms. Clarkson had her undergarments on at the time that she was found. Is that true?
Well, actually, at the time of the scene, I think all of us there at the scene didn't know that the garment she was actually wearing under the jacket was a black slip. It looked to me, and I'm not much for fashion myself, but it looked to me to be some kind of dress. But I think at the end, once people looked at it closer, once it was off her, they determined it to be a slip.
Okay, it's been referred to as a slip dress.
Yes.
She was wearing that at the time?
Yes.
When I say undergarments, getting further from the area of undergarments in your knowledge, we're talking about like a bra? She was wearing some type of a bra?
Yeah, I believe she had a bra. She was wearing a bra and also a pair of underwear.
Okay, and basically those articles of clothing were, they were on her at the time in the place where they usually are. Let's leave it at that.
Yes.
Okay, and one of the samples that was given to you from the sexual assault kit were some swabbings of her breasts, actually, the nipple area of her breasts. Isn't that true?
Yes, they called nipple swabs. We had a swab or sampling from the right nipple and also the left nipple.
Okay, and as part of the sexual assault kit, you were given that sample to do DNA analysis on. Isn't that true?
Yes.
Okay, and did you successfully develop any DNA typing results off of that left nipple swab?
Yes.
And did you get a single source profile, or did you get a mixed sample from that swab?
If I may refer to my report.
Please do that.
The left nipple swab from Lana Clarkson yielded a mixed profile that was consistent with 2 donors. The major donor in that sample was Lana Clarkson herself. It's her own skin surface, so one would predict that. And the minor donor, the types found, were consistent with were originating from Phil Spector.
Now, yesterday you gave some frequency calculations, likelihood ratios they're called. Is that true?
That's one form. I was giving frequency calculations.
Okay. When you looked at the profile that was consistent with Mr. Spector on the left breast swab, did you do any type of frequency calculation to determine the likelihood that it would be somebody else other than Mr. Spector?
Yes.
Okay, and can you tell the jury what that is?
Yeah, the frequency estimate in that mixed sample, the way I performed it was I had to make 2 assumptions to get to this number. The first assumption was there were only 2 donors present in that mixture, which is consistent with what I saw in the DNA profile. And then the second assumption is that the victim, Lana Clarkson, is one of the donors of that mixture. So there's only 1 foreign donor. So given those assumptions, the number I will give you is an estimate of the size of a randomly selected defined population of individuals, which would be expected to contain at most 1 person that would also be included into the mixture. Now, we already know Phil Spector's included into that mixture, but what's the chances of finding somebody else that would also be included? And the numbers for the Caucasian population, and we're talking about the left nipple swab now, is 14.8 billion. So what that means is I would have to, my estimate would mean I would have to look at 14.8 billion Caucasians before I would expect to find another person that would also be included.
So the inference there is that for all practical scientific purposes, Mr. Philip Spector's DNA was on that left nipple that was collected. Is that true?
I wouldn't say that. The number is slightly over the world population, which is about 6.6 billion. And usually I frequency estimate get a well of over 100 times the world's population for me to have an opinion personally that DNA came from that person.
All right, on that note, we have reached the hour. Ladies and gentlemen, keep in mind the admonition. We'll return at 1:30 this afternoon. Thank you.
Oh, I could have gone my whole life not knowing that. Oh. Ugh. 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 Okay. I don't even know what to say, y'all. Ugh. Okay. I've got it set up to redirect to the trial, and I'm gonna take a quick. I can't talk now. Quick break. And make my protein shake because I haven't eaten yet, and I will see you guys over there. Okay, Carla, just let me know. I have never done it that way, but I know that you can do it that way. StreamYard is web-based, so you don't have to download anything. If you want to use StreamYard. StreamYard works good if you're not sharing your screen and trying to stream something through it. Because, when I'm just talking to you guys like this, it never gives me any problems. But that's up to you. You just go to StreamYard, StreamYard.com, and then it's really user friendly too. It'll tell you how to connect it to your YouTube channel and everything. But yeah, you can just go when you go to YouTube, and the little create icon up in the right hand corner. You just click that and it'll say go live, and you just click that and you can go live. I've never done it that way, but okay, guys. If you're not going to join me over there, if you're watching it somewhere else, or you're just not watching it at all, I will see you again in the morning for more Phil Spector. And have a good day. If you're going to join me over there, I will see you in a few minutes. So, bye.